Okay, so I'm in the Henry Hunter reading room. I can't be too loud because people are working in here, but people do have meetings in here, so I figure, why not? I'll give it a go. I'd just like to read some of this, The Spirit of Disobedience by Curtis White. This is just a passage that had some meaning for me. It's about Hamlet. The chapter's called Beyond the Golden Rule. And it starts with a quote from William Blake from The Marriage of Heaven and Hell. I tell you, no virtue can exist without breaking these 10 commandments. Jesus was all virtue and acted upon impulse, not from rules. In Shakespeare's Hamlet, perhaps the most conspicuous assumption about the state of the world is that the reign of an ethic of universal love rooted in duty to a just father is ended. Clad in his inky cloak, Hamlet is not only proto-goth, his favourite bands, The Cure, Depeche Mode, but also proto-Nietzschean. Hamlet is the returned Jesus bringing the bad news this time. My father is dead, he won't be back. I shall not look upon his like again, as Hamlet puts it. The Christian ethic is replaced by an ethic of interested calculation administered by men who would only seem to be king, seem to be father, seem to be deserving of our loyalty. As Othello's villainous Largo proudly puts the same idea, as if what he was describing were not a new job skill that future employers would pay a lot for. I am not what I am. To his credit, Hamlet knows not seems. I have that within which passes show. He will instead perform his grief, his sense of grievous, and his unhappiness. He will stage his resentment for this new life under an uncle who merely plays at being a father. Unhappily, as Hamlet is soon to discover, the future is owned by these men, Claudius, Fortinbras, don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, who are good at seeming, but who are in truth rank and gross in nature. They'll wear their heart on their sleeves for doors to peck at, as Iago says, but then go on about their murderous business. Because he sees the hypocrites for what they are from the beginning, Hamlet understands that all that Othello misses. Although he was not capable of doing much with this knowledge, what is clear to Hamlet that is obscure to Othello is that any kindness on his part will be answered only with cruelty. Thus his despair. To defeat my enemy, I must become like him, and thus most unlike my father. A large part of Hamlet's tragedy is that he has no choice but to enter the Machiavellian realm of realpolitik, in which honesty is a bad strategy. And so in spite of himself, and in spite of his first protest in the play that he knows not seeming, he falls immediately into seeming to be mad, although given his quandary a little real madness was in order. Hamlet is not pleased with himself because of the cleverness of his ploy. Rather, his dissembling fills him with self-loathing. More maddening still, Hamlet understands that he has little choice in his tactics because his enemy's cruelty can easily cloak itself in the mantle of virtue. In the absence of real justice, virtue is what the king says it is. And so in order to confront the Machiavellian hypocrites, Hamlet must become one of them, and in the process feel very viscerally that he is conspiring against himself. He has become his own enemy. I think Hamlet's predicament is in most ways our own. We have no access to virtue because it is owned by pitiless hypocrites. Worse yet, we also feel that for some inescapable reason our efforts to confront the hypocrites have made us like them. We cannot confront them without feeling like we're conspiring against ourselves. This is grim stuff, I confess, but let me try a what if. What if our primarily moral conviction were not the golden rule, love thy neighbour as thyself, or do unto others as you would do unto them. What if the passing of the Father in his ethic meant not that there was no recourse to ethics, but that another ethic was in order? I ask this not because I think there's something wrong with the Golden Rule as a rule, what Immanuel Kant called a moral maxim, as something to be universalised in community, but because it seems to me unavailable to us in the present, just as Hamlet found it unavailable in his own. This is perhaps one of the many reasons that the Danish prince still seems to us so modern. The problem in the present is that even if we wanted to use the rule and to know it, which is to say, live it, we wouldn't know how. This is so for many reasons. We are prevented from living the Golden Rule by hypocrisy, by isolation from others, by our servility to establish social orders, by our willingness to conspire in our own defeat, and, last and most inglorious, we are defeated by that matrix of moral failure combining hypocrisy, isolation, servility and self-defeat, our own apocalyptic beast, the holy whore. I will take these obstacles to contemporary ethical life up at one time before returning to this fanciful what-if concerning an alternative ethic. Yeah, I think I'll leave it there. It does go on. It's a great book. Highly recommend it. The Spirit of Disobedience, Resisting the Charms of Fake Politics, Mindless Consumption and the Culture of Total Work by Curtis White. Can you read that? Anyway, there you go. Bye-bye.